Money is made possible by financial support from Old National Bank and Chicagoans like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to In the Money. I'm your host, Kimberly Loftis, a CPA and Chicago Business Journal Woman of Influence, who is also a financial executive that is passionate about personal finance. Tonight is the season finale. That's right, we've reached the end of another great season where we've tackled everything from budgeting basics to investing strategies while keeping in mind a positive money mindset. And most importantly, we've empowered you to take control of your financial future. But before we say goodbye, we've got two more important topics to squeeze in. Tonight we're focusing on the heart of it all, family and loved ones. We'll explore how to set healthy financial boundaries and how to make family finances a source of collaboration instead of stress. Our guest tonight will help you manage your financial stress in a way that doesn't make your kids inherit a negative money mindset, as well as setting clear financial boundaries with others to live your best life. So while we are on a quick break, grab your notepads, get comfortable, and join us on this money and relationship discussion. Welcome back to In the Money, where we're discussing the impact of relationships on financial well-being. Managing financial stress and modeling this behavior can impact your kids. I, for one, saw and felt my parents stressed when money was tight. How can parents model the right behavior when they are financially stressed? To help us answer this question, we have licensed clinical social worker Tamika Hill to guide us. Welcome to the show, Tamika.
Thank you, Kimberly.
So you heard that question about financial stress, and a lot of times it's hard for us to hold that in when we're having stress. Mm-hmm. And when you're stressed about stuff, you don't want other people to be stressed. So how can I, if I'm financially stressed, how can I, hide is a wrong word, I would say. I know for me, is I like to share how I'm feeling, but that might not work for everyone.
Well, actually suppressing is not healthy because that's only going to make it show more, actually, because I know sometimes parents think they're hiding things from their children when in actual reality, kids are way more in tune and in sync to your emotions. Okay. So even if you feel like, okay, I don't want to discuss it, I still would acknowledge it.
So can we role play for a minute? Mm-hmm. I'm stressed about money. I don't have enough money to pay these bills. Mm-hmm. I want to do something special for my daughter, for her birthday, but I just really can't afford it, and I'm just really stressed out. And so I'm short-tempered with my daughter because it has nothing to do with her. Mm-hmm. In that moment where I'm short-tempered, how can I roll it back to be more realistic about what's going on, make sure she knows it's not anything that she did, but it's just something that I'm going through?
First, apologizing. And actually letting her know, like, you know what, this has nothing to do with you. Mommy is just stressed. And depending on the age, you could say, I want to do something really expensive, but I don't have the money right now to do that. But maybe we can come up with something together in a budget that fits what I can do right now and what you would still want.
And then what about my personal situation when I was growing up? I didn't ask for anything, so I was just scared because I didn't want to put them under more stress. I was like, if I ask for something, that's going to make them more stressful. But now that I'm an adult, I was like, I shouldn't have had to take that on as a kid. I should not have taken that on as a kid. How can I prevent that from happening if I'm having that situation to my own kid?
Having those open conversations. I think like checking in with your kid. Like I believe in, it's called check in, check out. Check in with your child and see like, hey, what's going on? What are you feeling? Like, ask them what do they feel about money. Ask them what do they feel about your financial situation.
So if I'm going through tough times and I'm trying to model in good behavior, not, losing my temper or apologizing when I do because we're not perfect, and sharing in an age-appropriate way what's going on financially so they understand it. How can I then manage my own stress? What can I do to manage my stress outside of, what the impact is on other people? How can I deal with it on a day-to-day basis?
Self-care. Okay. Self-care, actually acknowledging your feelings throughout the day, acknowledging that it's okay to have those stressors, but it's also not living in absolutes. Like, this is your financial situation today, but it's not gonna be your absolute forever. And I think that's very important that we get out the mindset of thinking in absolute, because we live in that moment and we think it's forever.
And my sister always says, you have these doom days, like you go to the extreme.
Yes.
The world's going to fall apart. Girl, get over it. Okay, so I'm stressed. I'm managing that stress. How do I get out of the situation that I'm in? Like, what steps should I be starting to take to help me be more financially independent when I'm stressed?
I think counseling, like you said. I love the fact that you said counseling, right? And if someone can't afford counseling or doesn't believe in it or whatever it may be, maybe start with self-help books, like to understand your triggers, like what's triggering your stress. Usually stress comes from lack of us being able to control outcome. That's truly where it comes from.
And so I know, but off air, we were talking about EAP programs. We talked about affordability of mental health care. Can you explain what EAP is?
So it's employee assistance programs. Every job, mostly every job has it, where they offer free mental health services through your employer. They're usually anywhere from 3 to 8 is the highest I've seen it. And so you don't have to pay for it. You can shop for therapists as well as get some free counseling to see if it works for you. And then I always tell people, don't give up on the first one, because the first one may not be for you, but you have that benefit that you can go shop for someone else.
Now, is it limited to just the employee, or do their family members ever get an opportunity to use a EAP as well?
So depending on the EAP program, most of them are who's ever in your household. They do not have to be on your insurance coverage, but if they live in the household with you.
That's a nice benefit if you have it.
Yes, most of them do.
Okay. And so I know for me personally, writing everything down, like budgeting and writing it down, seeing on pen and paper, that comforts me. It, helps me settle down.
You're a numbers person.
Well, I'm a numbers person. But what are some of the other tools people could use to kind of, calm them down that you've heard other people may use?
Well, the class that I just hosted, when we talked about financial triggers, one lady said, unfortunately, numbers intimidate her. So budgets give her anxiety because it means like I can't have in her mind. So what she said she often does is allows her spouse to create the budget, and she finds coupons. She finds satisfaction in, doing coupons. That way it's like freedom to spend because you have coupons.
And coupons is, I think people sleep on coupons. Coupons is free money.
Oh, yeah. There's apps too out there that pay you for your receipts.
Now, do you believe a lot of people don't even know if they're suffering from financial stress?
Oh, yes, completely.
Now, how could they not see it? I mean, how's that even possible?
I hate to say this word, but it's true, generational mindset.
What does that mean?
So it's kind of like generationally, if your family has always struggled, that's the norm.
Oh, so if your family struggle and you be like, it's normal to you, so you expect yourself to struggle. But I was the opposite. I was like, I want to be like, I don't want to struggle like that. So why in my case was it different? For example, not that you know me like that,
right.
But just in generality, like how could somebody break that generational, what do you call it, generational mindset?
Because we all have independent thinking. So some people, it could be opposite, like, I don't want to live like that, so I want more, which is more so internally challenging your mindset. So more than likely somebody who is like, well, I don't want to suffer. But then they also have the ability to go and be with the Joneses if they're not careful.
Right. Okay. And so if I don't know I have the financial stress, how do what can we tell our audience members to see if they have these triggers or this mindset of financial stress?
If you're living paycheck to paycheck, which I know half the people in the audience is going to say, everybody's doing that. No, they're not. That's your first sign. If you have to look at your bank account before you're spending, if you're going out to eat and you got to switch money to this account, to that account to pay for something, if you got nothing against Cardinal and Affirm and all those things, but if you got too many of those, then you're overspending.
Okay. So I've worked on modeling the best behavior for my children as far as stress. Where do partners or relationships come in as far as modeling or managing financial stress?
Don't get somebody who who got worse money habits than you. That's for sure. I think depending on the partner, right? Like making sure they have the right mindset with money. it starts there because the kids are watching both of you, not just you. So if your partner has the right mindset, with money, then modeling that behavior looks like sitting down at the table, writing the bills out, discussing them. Like we've kind of, I guess, depending on when you were born, things were hidden.
Right.
Versus now, things are out loud because everything's on YouTube or social media. And I think families have to grow to that mindset. Talk about money out loud. Don't hide from the kids.
I know when I was growing up, every Friday or every other Friday, whenever my parents got paid, they physically went somewhere to pay the bill, or I saw them sitting at the dining room table writing the check and checking the envelope and mailing it. So I knew that money came in and money went out. But in today's world, everything is digital. So my daughter just, you could get that, just pull out the credit card. So we had to have a whole conversation, like that credit card has to get paid. So how young should I start having those conversations so they know that, stuff just don't miraculously appear, that I had to work and I had to, pay for that?
So my niece and nephew are 7. I started probably when they were 6 or 5, maybe, like you get $1 for cleaning your room or making the bed. When we go into the store, like you can get something, but it has to be like $19.99. So teaching them those numbers. So that teaches them underlying budgeting because they don't know taxes yet, of course, but like they know the value of the money because they're putting it to something, like it's money to an object.
Okay. And then my final question is around, I've already damaged my kid from the sense of I've been stressed about money. They know I'm stressed about money. How can I repair this?
Well, I feel like this. We're always evolving. So if we're always evolving, nothing can never be undone and nothing is absolute. So you start by working, both of you start work together. Like, okay, even the kid, maybe get your child some counseling so they can break some habits earlier than what you broke them. Talk about those feelings that's going on. Talk about what do they even think about money? Where's their root understanding of finances?
So we just basically start those kitchen table conversations. Either we're starting off or we've done some damage, we're going to repair the damage, but it all comes back to those kitchen table conversations.
Yes.
Thank you so much. When we return, we have Ben Juergens, our Money Matters expert, live in studio. Welcome back to the studio, Ben.
It's good to be back, Kimberly. Thanks for having me.
Great that you're here. We just discussed the stress that comes from managing money, but there has to be tools out there to make it easier. So, what makes it easier?
I'm a fan of the old school tools. Give me a pen, give me a paper. My wife and I do things together. But there's a lot of digital tools as well. I have to realize that we're in a digital world now. I hear a lot about Rocket Money as one where you can kind of manage subscriptions. I think they even help you eliminate some that you may not even use. There was the former Mint that I think is now moving in with Credit Karma, I believe. But honestly, you can Google budgeting, but a lot of banks do this as well. Banks track your spending for you. The problem is a lot of people just don't utilize it or didn't even know that it's there to understand where their money's going.
So if I am one of those people who just has a regular phone, I don't have basically the smartphone, what tools are available for me?
Yeah, so like I said, if you got access to a printer, I think that's a wonderful thing. Or if you have a computer or a tablet at home, that could be another source to download the apps. But I'm a big fan of printing out the budget in paper. You could have a very complex budget, and I know some people love that. For me, it's one page, income, expenses, and working off that. And I think that, to me, when I can physically see that in person, and you can download a budget from most banks' websites too, but doing that in paper really helps open up seeing where your money's truly going. And I like that idea just because the digital side seems like things kind of move around a lot. This, I know concrete, this is what money's coming in and what's going out.
So in the past, you had your money in your wallet and you went store to store, whatever, you actually had to pull out physical dollars or a check, then you went home and you balanced your checkbook. So you always had a sense. If you're doing it in that order, you had a sense of what was in your bank account. Today, transactions are happening so fast, they're digital, they're automated. And then you wake up one day, be like, oh, I'm overdrafted, or how can I get a handle on that?
Yeah, so for me, I don't carry cash because if I do, I spend it, right? So that's you have to understand your own personality, right? So for those, I think the bank accounts are wonderful, but to your point, we can wake up on a Friday morning or a Thursday and realize, where did our money go? I'm a big fan of setting up text alerts and notifications. So for me, if I have an expense that goes over like $150, for example, I'm getting a text alert.
Okay.
Sign up for those things. They're free with banks. You can get email notification, text alerts, SMS, whatever it may be. Those are some of the easiest ways to make sure that you're not falling below a certain balance. But I encourage you to check it every day. I've been trying to get my parents to do the same thing. They're old school,
Right.
let's go through the checkbook line by line. But at the same time, in a world of fraud that we live in today too, it's so important to know every day where your balance is. But don't always use that balance as what you have available to spend. We got to remember, if we got bills coming out, we got to account for those so we're not surprised come Wednesday night.
Okay, so based off your personality, it could be pen or paper, it could be digital, and then how can I make that a family affair?
Yeah, so I'm a combination of both. So I do a lot of our budgets on Excel. My wife loves to do the check marks, make sure we clear everything off. But I think the open communication is so key in a relationship. I know you and Tamika talked about that a while ago, and I think that's something that used to be taboo, is talking about money. But having that ability to do so now, it's one of the number one causes of divorce is money issues. So let's open the communication, let's work together and use each other's strengths. So if one likes the digital side, great. If one likes the paper side, great. But have the conversation either weekly or as soon as you can, and often as you can, to have that open discussion to say, where are we at today? And if we've got a problem, let's address it right away.
I love that. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you.
When we come back, we will discuss setting financial boundaries for your money.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Join me Mondays at 7 p.m. for Behind the Confident Smile as I sit in conversation with incredible, dynamic, and complex Chicagoans who peel back the layers, living lessons, the joy, and the pain behind their confident smiles. You can watch on CanTV 19, cantv.org, and CanTV Plus app.
Welcome back to In the Money. Let's face it, finances can get personal. Whether it's lending money to a sibling, helping out with aging parents, or having conversations with adult children, our financial situations with family can be tricky. Our money mindset expert, Tamika Hill, is here to continue the conversation. Tamika, why do I even need to set financial boundaries with family and friends?
Because you will be broke if you don't.
Well, they need my help.
No, they don't need your help. You're becoming an enabler and making yourself be needed.
What does that mean?
So people don't need us, they need themselves. They need to learn how to depend on themselves. And when we're always rescuing and loaning, we're teaching or enabling those same behaviors that keeps them coming back.
But a lot in our community, at least in my community at least, the parents are dependent on the kids to actually take care of them during their retirement years.
You see my face?
Well, but you're supposed to help your parents.
Help, not hinder.
So what we mean, how can I hinder?
Hinder meaning like if they have bad financial habits, then you're hindering them because you're going to keep them coming back versus like I understand if you have a set budget, right? Okay, you are on, say, Social Security, right? There still should be a set budget that you have to help them. And I do understand emotionally, I know people are like, she's mean. No, I'm not. Emotionally, you're going to want to do all these things, but financially, can you?
So a lot of times, at least in the Black community, there's a lack of generational wealth. And so the family, we have aunts, uncles, cousins, mothers, dads, grandparents are dependent on the one that made it. What are my steps to set those boundaries? I want to help, but I don't want to be broke, like you said.
So you figure out a budget that works for you, not for them, for you. And then don't give into your emotions that says, oh, I want to just be, you don't want to be the villain, basically. You want to be the good person. But being a good person is not always what it's all cracked up to be, because even though, yes, they're elderly, I know an elderly person right now who has a $2,000 shopping habit.
Oof.
Yes. Like, no, I don't want to help you.
Right.
Help yourself. Yeah.
And so we talked in last season about the sandwich generation, where you have aging parents on one side and your kids that you're raising on the other side, and then you're in the middle.
Yeah.
And so you don't want your kids to suffer either because you have to take care of an aging parent. But it's just hard to make those choices.
No, emotions make it hard. It's really not that hard. It's about boundaries, knowing what you can do, and then being okay with being the villain in other cases.
Now, what about, I heard someone in the past who did like a family fund that they would fund, and then once that, and you know, for whatever reason people could use it, but once it was gone, it's gone. Is that another way to kind of manage those expectations from family members?
So, my grandmother actually, that's something she has in place for her family, that she wants to like keep creating the family fund. I have my quirks about that, because like who's going to keep funding it and who determines what's important, or you know. So I think that's a personal choice, because again, you can do that, but who's funding it? One, what are the protocols to withdraw?
Okay, and so we've talked about family. What about romantic relationships? Setting financial boundaries, like, you know, boyfriend always broke.
Stop getting a repair person. Don't get a fixer-upper.
But shouldn't the relationship be more than about money?
It shouldn't be about fixing somebody either.
That's
so
a good point.
I always say, if you are attracting people you have to fix up, then you need to go fix yourself.
So something about you is getting those people to say, hey, she'll fix me up. Interesting.
Or something about you that needs to be needed. And that's a dangerous way to be, because you will always find yourself on the giving end, and you know, you're repairing him for somebody else or she.
Now, what are the steps I can take to repair myself?
Therapy, one. Two, I always say do self-inventory. So I always challenge my clients to write down people who were significant to them as far as in the dating pool. Write down their personality traits. Don't look for the common denominators. You yourself just write down all the things, the good, the bad, whatever, and you're gonna find the common denominator in that, and that's gonna be your void.
Interesting. And so if I'm already in a relationship, we are having issues around money, how can we start, what are the steps we can take to start repairing our relationship around money? What can we do?
So, like Ben said before, having those conversations, right, and working with each other's strong points is a start. But now this is going to sound horrible, but at the end of the day, if you guys don't align financially, you're not going to make it. So be okay with walking away.
What about compromise? Like, does both people have to compromise to make it work when it comes to financials, or if the person who's making the most money get to decide? Like, how does that work?
No, I don't go off who makes the most money, because you can make the most money and be bad with money. So that's neither here nor there. I know people would love to say, well, they make the most money, but if you're bad with money, what difference does that make?
Right.
You know.
So even if you're bad with money, your partner should have a say, because you're bad with money, and the person who's manages money the best probably should have more say.
I think that's where the compromise has to come a little bit, and not trying to take people's power away or control with money, because that could be a place of sore thumb, that, you know, you're trying to control me with your money, or I make more money, so I'm going to try to control you. So careful how you word, and that's probably where couples counseling, learning how to communicate through those difficult conversations, would benefit.
Now, speaking of money, as far as earning, how can someone balance a relationship when clearly they make more money than someone else and they're coming together as a couple? When they lived apart, everything was fine, but then they're coming together as a couple, and the person who earns more maybe have more expensive taste than the person who didn't. Like, how do you balance that out?
Creating a budget, the freedom to spend. So having you and your partner sitting down and say, okay, this is my budget to spend, and I get to spend it on whatever I want, but this is my budget of freedom to spend. And that could be with an expensive taste. And that's the compromise, because they're well aware, like, just say if you create $2,000 spending budget, but you make really good money, that's not out of reach.
Right.
You know.
So the weaponization of money is a big issue in relationships. And, you know, traditionally has been, back in the day, the man was the earner, and the wife, had to manage whatever she was given. And today it could, be either way. How can you prevent or mitigate that weaponization of money in a relationship?
I think again that control, like communication is everything, and not trying to control. So I believe even as a couple, yes, you should have your finances as a couple, but you should always have a budget that has the independence of the freedom to spend for you.
So you're coming together as a couple and you have that joint budget, but within that budget is something for each of you so that, everybody feels like they're a part of it.
Right.
And nobody's dictating, your likes or dislikes, because, that's what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Or not do anything with it.
Right.
And so in the context of relationships, family, and romantic partners, how do I know I'm even having issues with money?
If you always angry about money, if you're frustrated about money, if you're uncomfortable talking about it with your partner, family, whoever, or you're always avoiding phone calls because somebody's asking you for money, like those are number one signs that there's some financial stressors because you haven't set boundaries with money.
But could it be not an individual issue, but a relationship issue? Maybe I'm fine with money, but it's just the other people.
Because why do you care what they think?
So if somebody's always calling me asking me for money and I'm avoiding them,
you didn't set the boundary then, because they have the right to call you.
Right.
You have the right not to answer.
and then, okay, but you don't need to go say, look, quit calling me. I'm not going to be able to give you this. You want to call and just talk to me. Should you have that conversation?
I think, yes, always have the conversation to set the boundary. Now it's up to you to respect your own boundary, though. Don't expect somebody to respect what you put in place. It's your job to respect.
Now, what about people who feel guilty, maybe about their upbringing or whatever reason they feel guilty about, and they just buy everything for their kids, and their kids don't have any financial boundaries?
Oh, they'll pay for that later when it's time for go to college. But in reality, though, like I think the guest who was on here before talked about overcompensating and buying, but then her daughter brought it to her attention that she was concerned about finances. So even with kids, sometimes I think we take for granted that they don't have that concern. And that's where you kind of have to, again, be okay with being the villain sometimes and not the enabler.
Because we want them to have good money habits, and if we're overspending, they're picking up that habit.
Yep. Because they think money is endless.
Well, thank you so much for that, setting financial boundaries. We'll be right back after the break.
Hello, I'm Rich Robbins, inviting you to join me for the series Soft and Tender. Soft and Tender celebrates the resilience and emotional depth of Black fatherhood, offering a powerful narrative on family bonds and ongoing challenges faced by Black communities.
As a father and as a parent in general, you have to know that you're not going to always understand, and that's okay.
Tune in on CAN TV, cable channel 19, or stream at cantv.org or the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
There you have it. Setting healthy financial boundaries with loved ones and working together as a family can take the stress out of money matters. Remember, kids are always watching. Talking openly about finances sets a great example. Involve them in age-appropriate ways like setting savings goals or helping with the budget. And I know it is hard sometimes to not show that you are money stressed, but if you show it, you have to talk about it with your kids in an age-appropriate way so they know you got this and they do not need to worry. By fostering communication and teamwork, you can build a financially healthy future for yourself and your entire family. And that's a wrap for the second season of In the Money. It's been a privilege sharing this journey with you and equipping you with the knowledge and tools to achieve financial security. Remember, financial well-being is an ongoing process. Keep learning, keep planning, and keep supporting one another. Thank you for being a part of the amazing show. Until next time, take care of your finances and take care of yourselves. If you have any questions about today's topic or past topics, please send me an email to kimberly@inthemoneyemail.com or follow me on Instagram, Diva of Cashflow. Remember, we are on this journey together.